Tonight, Chicago burns, not with triumph, but with the searing heat of expectation, betrayal, and the brutal truth of professional sports. The air crackles. You clicked on this for a reason. You know the score. You feel the tension. Angel Reese, the phenom, the Bayou Barbie, is back in Chicago. But not in the uniform they remember, not as the hometown hero. She returns as the opposition, the face of the Atlanta Dream, and the stakes? Higher than ever. This isn't just a preseason game. This is a public trial. This is a battle for narrative control. Every move, every shot, every glance from the crowd, it's all under the microscope. Was her departure a strategic chess move, or was it a quiet concession, an unspoken humiliation to be played out under the bright lights of a city she once called home? The WNBA, in its infinite wisdom, has orchestrated a spectacle. They know the drama. They understand the emotional leverage. And tonight, Angel Reese steps into that arena, a gladiator facing the ghosts of her past, the whispers of what might have been, and the deafening roar of a crowd that now sees her as an antagonist. The question isn't just about winning or losing on the scoreboard. It's about winning the narrative. It's about escaping the shadow of a perceived humiliation or succumbing to it. This is more than basketball. It's a deep dive into the psychology of a player under immense pressure. A spotlight so intense, it could either forge a legend or expose every vulnerability. The narrative demands a reckoning. The fans demand an answer. And the league simply provides the stage for this raw, unscripted drama to unfold. Tonight, the spotlight isn't just on the game. It's on Angel Reese herself and the crushing weight of every expectation placed upon her shoulders. The silence from some corners, the pointed questions from others, it all converges tonight. The echoes of what if rebound through the stadium. The question is, can Angel Reese silence them, or will the narrative of her return forever be tinged with the sting of humiliation? This is the kind of story that transcends the court, that ignites conversations, and that leaves an indelible mark on the legacy of a player. The trap is set. The stage is lit, and the world watches, waiting for the first crack in the facade, the first sign of vulnerability, the first moment where the immense pressure translates into something raw and unmistakably, unforgivably public.
You have these two teams matching up against one another in their preseason debut because the Chicago Sky are going to look very different. They have changed their roster quite a bit, including one of the major pieces being Angel Reese, and then obviously Angel Reese joining the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream were really good last season.
The gravity of this moment cannot be overstated. When the announcer calls this scheduling brilliant, it's a chillingly accurate assessment of the league's strategic prowess. Brilliant isn't just about good viewership. It's about engineering a high-stakes emotional confrontation. Angel Reese returning to Chicago, not as a Sky player, but as a formidable opponent for the Atlanta Dream. This is a masterclass in narrative manipulation. It forces a direct comparison, a direct confrontation, right out of the gate in the preseason. The Chicago Sky, a team undergoing significant roster changes, a team now looking very different without her, are compelled to face their former star. This isn't just a friendly exhibition, it's a symbolic battle. Every Sky fan, every commentator, every observer will be scrutinizing Angel Reese's performance, her demeanor, her very presence against the backdrop of a team she departed. The implicit question hangs heavy in the air. Was her departure a misstep? Was it a betrayal? And will her new team's success, or lack thereof, on this very night serve as a public judgment? The term humiliation here isn't necessarily about a score. It's about the deep psychological pressure of being forced to prove your worth, your decision, your entire future, against the very foundations of your past. The WNBA knows exactly what they're doing. They're not just selling tickets. They're selling drama, rivalry, and the very real possibility of a player facing an uncomfortable reckoning in front of a critical audience. This preseason game is designed to be anything but inconsequential. It's a calculated risk for Angel Reese, a trial by fire in a setting that's anything but forgiving. The narrative deepens, a tangled web of expectations and unwritten rules. Angel Reese, the player once celebrated for her dominant interior presence, her physicality, her relentless drive under the basket, is now reportedly seen shooting a lot of threes in warm-ups. This isn't just a subtle tweak to her game, it's a seismic shift in identity. With the Chicago Sky, she was the point forward, taking the ball up, orchestrating from the high post, a dynamic force whose game was built on power and relentless pursuit of the rim. Now, with the Atlanta Dream, the conversation immediately shifts to her stretching the floor, to her becoming a perimeter threat. Is this a natural evolution of her game or a forced adaptation? Is it a strategic move to unlock new potential, or is it a calculated maneuver by the Dream to fit her into a different system, one that might not fully leverage the strengths that made her a household name? The pressure to conform, to reinvent, especially in front of her old fans, can be a subtle form of public humiliation. If she struggles with this new role, if the shots don't fall, if her signature physicality is diminished in pursuit of a different archetype, the whispers will intensify. Critics will point to her past, to what she used to be, contrasting it with her new, potentially less effective incarnation. This isn't about skill, it's about perceived fit, about narrative control. To step onto that court, fundamentally altered under the gaze of a demanding public, is to invite intense scrutiny. Every missed three-pointer becomes a data point in a larger, unspoken debate about her career trajectory. The choice to embrace this new style, or to have it imposed upon her, carries immense weight. It could be a stroke of genius, or it could be the very thing that exposes vulnerabilities, creating a spectacle not of triumph, but of struggle and, perhaps, public questioning of her future. The very attempt to change, to adapt, becomes a high-wire act, where a misstep can lead to a fall, not just in performance, but in perception. A fall that resonates deeply with the core idea of a public humiliation.
Threes. Angel Reese is behind the arc for most of these clips that I'm seeing in her warm-ups. And I know that last year with the Chicago Sky, they were running her in kind of the point forward position, and she was really like getting out of the block, getting into the high post. She was taking the ball up, she was running the
This segment is a masterclass in subtle foreshadowing. The emphasis on Angel Reese behind the arc in warm-ups, juxtaposed with her historical role as a point forward for the Chicago Sky, is not just an observation, it's a strategic planting of doubt, a subtle hint at potential discomfort. She was known for her power, her drive to the basket, her ability to dictate play from the high post. To now see her shooting a lot of threes, and to hear the question, is this something where the Atlanta Dream are trying to really get her to stretch the floor, reveals a pivot point in her career. This isn't merely a tactical adjustment, it's a potential redefinition of her playing style, a strategic shift that could be perceived as a demotion from her previous, more central role. In Chicago, she was a primary facilitator, a high-usage player. With Atlanta, is she being relegated to a specialized role, a floor spacer? If this isn't her natural game, if she's being forced into a mold that doesn't fit, especially in a return game to her former city, it opens the door for critics to frame it as a humiliation. It implies that her former team allowed her to operate in a way that showcased her strengths, while her new team might be attempting to make her something she's not. The very act of stretching her game, particularly if it's not a seamless transition, could become a public spectacle of awkwardness or inefficiency, fueling the narrative that she's struggling to find her footing in a new, perhaps less flattering role. The pressure to adapt, to prove herself in a different capacity, especially when her old identity was so successful, is immense. This isn't just about a change in plays, it's about a change in perception, a change that, if not executed flawlessly, could contribute significantly to the narrative of her humiliation. The silence in her words, the almost practiced neutrality, speaks volumes. When Angel Reese, in the face of her dramatic return, states she's happy and grateful and excited to start this new journey, it's a PR perfect response. But the immediate, visceral follow-up from the commentator, is there going to be any sort of rivalry between these two games, rips through that facade. This isn't just a rhetorical question, it's the burning inquiry on every fan's mind. Her calm, almost dismissive tone clashes directly with the undeniable tension bubbling beneath the surface. This cognitive dissonance is where the seed of humiliation truly takes root. Her perceived nonchalance could be interpreted in multiple ways. Is she genuinely unaffected, demonstrating a professional maturity beyond her years, or is this a calculated deflection, a shield against the torrent of emotions and expectations that such a return inevitably brings? For the Sky fans, her placid response might sting, perhaps even more than a fiery outburst. It could be seen as a slight, a dismissal of their shared history, adding another layer to the narrative of her departure. The expectation for a dramatic, emotional reunion, met with a bland corporate statement, can be a form of public shaming, a quiet humiliation for those who invested their emotions in her. The WNBA, by scheduling this game, didn't want happy and grateful, they wanted fireworks. They wanted a story, and her attempt to diffuse that tension, whether genuine or strategic, only amplifies the underlying current of unaddressed questions and unresolved feelings. The rivalry isn't just hypothetical, it's palpable, an invisible force that permeates the very atmosphere of the arena. Her words, intended to soothe, instead highlight the chasm between public persona and raw emotion, leaving the audience to fill in the blanks, often with narratives of betrayal or a calculated coldness. This is the subtle art of public perception, where a well-intended answer can, under specific circumstances, become the very instrument of perceived humiliation, forcing the audience to question her authenticity in a moment that demands raw truth. The stage was set for a hero's welcome, or a villain's return, but her neutral stance leaves an unsettling ambiguity, a quiet defiance that some might interpret as a profound lack of respect, intensifying the silent judgment.
To really get her to stretch the floor, like, is she gonna be somebody who's putting up like 3 to 8 3-pointers per game? We'll just have to see. And when she was asked about her return to Chicago, she said, "I'm happy, I'm grateful for my time in Chicago. I experienced a lot of great things. I'm just excited to start this new journey." So I'm actually interested to see how this game pans out. Is there going to be any sort of rivalry between these two games?
The power of this clip lies not just in Angel Reese's words, but in the immediate, unyielding question that follows. Her statement, "I'm happy, I'm grateful for my time in Chicago, I experienced a lot of great things. I'm just excited to start this new journey," is textbook professional boilerplate. It's the kind of quote designed to diffuse tension, to present a smooth, unruffled front, but the WNBA's brilliant scheduling ensures such tranquility cannot last. The very next thought posed by the commentator, is there going to be any sort of rivalry between these two games, punctures that carefully constructed narrative. This isn't just a casual query. It's the elephant in the room, the question every fan, every player, every analyst is desperate to have answered. Her attempt to maintain an air of gratitude and new beginnings is immediately challenged by the raw, unspoken reality of competition and potentially lingering resentment. This moment is ripe for perceived humiliation because it exposes the immense pressure on her to perform, not just for her new team, but to validate her choices, to justify her departure. If she fails to dominate, if her new team falters, her happiness and excitement will ring hollow, interpreted by some as a forced smile, masking deeper struggles or regrets. The rivalry isn't just on the court, it's a battle for the narrative of her career. Her measured response against the backdrop of potential conflict only amplifies the scrutiny. It forces the audience to read between the lines, to question the sincerity of her words when the tension of the situation demands a more visceral, perhaps even defiant response. This clash between composed professionalism and undeniable underlying drama is precisely where the humiliation narrative finds its footing. A public performance where every emotion or lack thereof is dissected and judged. The journey for Angel Reese is far from over. This preseason game against the Chicago Sky was merely the opening chapter in a story that promises twists, turns, and intense scrutiny. The humiliation hinted at in the title is not a singular event but a continuous pressure, a gauntlet she must navigate with every single game. Her return to Chicago was a baptism by fire, a moment where the weight of past allegiances met the fierce demands of future expectations. Every missed shot, every defensive lapse, every moment where her new role felt less impactful than her old one. These are the subtle cuts, the quiet criticisms that under the unforgiving glare of the spotlight can feel like public humiliation. The WNBA's decision to pit these teams against each other so early was a strategic masterstroke, ensuring that Angel Reese's every move would be dissected, analyzed, and compared to her previous tenure. The new-look Chicago Sky playing without her represents a chapter she closed, and their performance, whether triumphant or struggling, will inevitably be measured against the shadow of her departure. The path forward for Angel Reese is fraught with challenges. She must not only adapt to a new team, a new city, and potentially a new playing style, but she must also redefine her narrative in the eyes of a public that watches her with unparalleled intensity. Can she silence the doubters? Can she turn the whispers of what if into shouts of triumph? Can she emerge from the crucible of public scrutiny not just as a stronger player, but as a more resilient individual, unburdened by the weight of past expectations and the sting of perceived slights? The documentary continues, the story unfolds, and the world watches, eager to see if Angel Reese can defy the odds, transcend the drama, and forge a legacy that overshadows any fleeting moment of perceived humiliation. This isn't just about a game. It's about a career, a reputation, and the relentless pursuit of greatness in the most unforgiving of arenas. The psychological battle rages on, long after the final buzzer sounds. The echoes of that Chicago crowd, the silent judgments, the analytical critiques, they will all follow her, pushing her, shaping her, and ultimately defining her journey in the WNBA. The narrative of Humiliation is a powerful hook, but it also serves as a stark reminder of the immense pressure and the constant judgment faced by elite athletes, especially when their journey takes an unexpected turn. Angel Reese's story is a testament to the brutal beauty of professional sports, where every step is observed, every decision scrutinized, and every performance carries the weight of an entire career.